Age gap relationships are nothing new, but Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte. Now that's a story. A 24-year difference is already intriguing, but what really makes it jaw-dropping? He was just a teenager when they met, and she was his teacher. Yes, you heard that right. During a rare interview, Brigitte admitted, "My head was in a mess. For me, such a young boy was crippling." So, how did it all begin? Let's rewind to the early 90s. Emmanuel was just 15 years old, a student at Lycée La Providence in Amiens, a small city in northern France. Brigitte, a woman 24 years his senior, married with 3 children, was his literature and drama teacher. And get this, her eldest daughter, Laurence, was actually in the same class as Emmanuel. At the time, Brigitte had been married for about 20 years to a banker named André-Louis Ozière. She was living a completely normal, respectable life as a wife, mother, and teacher. But everything changed when she met Emmanuel. You know where it's going. Their bond started while working during a school play, The Art of Comedy, by Italian playwright Edoardo De Filippo. Every Friday night they stayed after school, rehearsing lines, exchanging ideas, and apparently falling in love. Or at least he was.
And this is for a very positive memory.
Every Friday I would go write a play with her for a few hours. We talked about everything. It seemed to me that we had always known each other, the French president later revealed. Brigitte later said that working with young Emmanuel was like working with Mozart. He wasn't just smart, he was intense, driven, and way beyond his years.
We work very well together.
Now, at first, people just thought it was a close teacher-student relationship, but then things got a little too close. Other students started noticing that Brigitte and Emmanuel spent a lot of time together, staying late after rehearsals, deep in conversation, clearly very focused on each other. And then came the moment that really set off alarm bells. They were spotted at a restaurant, sharing what witnesses described as a tender moment. Let's just say, small towns love their gossip. Rumors started flying, and when Emmanuel's parents found out, they couldn't believe it. At first, they actually thought he was dating Brigitte's daughter, because that would have made way more sense. But when they realized the truth, they took immediate action. His mother, Françoise, admitted that when she first found out, she was completely shocked.
I think everybody was emotional at this very moment.
In a biography about Macron, his mother said, "We couldn't believe it. When Emmanuel met Brigitte, we couldn't just say, 'That's great.'" And honestly, can you blame her? Imagine your teenage son having long personal phone calls with someone much older, especially when that person is also his teacher. That's not exactly a situation most parents are prepared for. Their solution? Get him out of there. Fast. They sent him off to an elite boarding school in Paris, hoping that, with some distance, he'd move on, meet girls his own age, and forget all about his teacher.
I think they made a huge mistake.
Brigitte, knowing how scandalous the situation had become, tried to distance herself as well. She believed Emmanuel would move on, meet someone his own age, and forget about her. But he didn't. Even from Paris, Emmanuel kept in touch. He called, he wrote letters, and he refused to let go. He even told Brigitte, "No matter what you do, I will marry you." I mean, come on. Most teenage boys are just trying to get through their exams, and here's Emmanuel, making lifetime commitments.
I always prefer having direct discussion.
And Brigitte? Despite everything, her husband, her kids, the social scandal, she couldn't ignore her feelings either. But she wasn't reckless. She knew her children would be affected, so she took her time. For 10 years, she stayed in contact with Emmanuel, but remained in her marriage, trying to shield her family from the inevitable fallout. But eventually, the marriage ended. By then, Brigitte's children were adults, and she finally felt free to be with Emmanuel. André-Louis Ozière, her ex-husband, took it hard. He left the family home in 1994, though their divorce wasn't finalized until 2006. A year later, in 2007, France's future president and his ex-drama teacher got married. She was 54, he was 29. And in an almost symbolic twist, they tied the knot in Le Touquet, the same seaside town where she had once married her first husband.
Quel rôle vous jouez auprès de lui?
Je suis son épouse, c'est tout simple.
When asked about their age gap, Brigitte told Elle France, "There are times in your life when you need to make vital choices, and for me, that was it. If I hadn't made that choice, I would have missed out on my life."
And people just want to choose a life. That's very much important.
Now, let's just pause here for a second. Imagine being her kids. One day, your mom is a regular school teacher, married to your dad, and the next, she's in a relationship with someone much younger, who, by the way, you went to school with. That's gotta be rough. And it was. Brigitte's youngest daughter, Tiffany, later admitted that the whole situation was incredibly painful. She was just 10 years old when the scandal broke, and living in a small town meant everyone had an opinion. Even though social media wasn't around yet, rumors spread fast, and her family was the talk of the town. I learned a lot about human nature then. We had to move forward, ignoring attacks, rumors, and punishments. In a small town, everything was known, she shared. Watching her father leave was especially hard. Family separation can be both sadness and opportunity. Recomposition can be an enrichment. I have a loving father and stepfather, she said, adding that she still spoke of her dad in the present tense, even after he passed in 2019. Brigitte, however, has always defended their relationship. She once said, "He wasn't a teenager, he had a relationship of equals with other adults." Well, technically, he was a teenager. But okay, Brigitte, we'll let you have that one. By then, Emmanuel's career was on the rise. He was making a name for himself in the world of finance and politics. And in 2017, at just 39, he became the youngest president in French history. Interestingly, that was the exact age Brigitte had been when she first met him.
The fact that Emmanuel Macron is in a relationship with his old teacher, so a lady older than him, tells a story that is more interesting than those of the other candidates.
During his victory speech, he made sure to acknowledge her, saying, "She's always there, and what's more, without whom I wouldn't be me." If nothing else, you have to admit, Macron is committed. 5 years later, Brigitte stood beside him once again when he won re-election in 2022.
The office of the French president is here, and this is where I work.
This is magnificent.
By then, the world had pretty much accepted their love story, even if it still raised eyebrows.
Emotion is always stronger than argumentation.
They never had children together, but Emmanuel has stepped into the role of stepfather to Brigitte's 3 kids. And now, at just 47, he's also a step-grandfather to her 7 grandchildren. Talk about skipping a few levels on the family tree. It's fascinating, really, that they've been together for decades now. Despite the controversy, their relationship has stood the test of time. But, let's be honest, the way it all started still raises concerns for many.
It was absolutely unique. This is a phenomenon.
So, what do you think? Is this an extraordinary love story? Or one that still raises eyebrows? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell for more celebrity stories.